Okay, this is Trophy Gold, the Huntsman's Manor, part 2 of the Huntsman's Manor, that is to say. I want to let you know if you're watching this video and you're interested in Trophy, you can go to trophyrpg.com to learn how to pre-order the game once pre-orders go live. This particular incursion, the Huntsman's Manor, is part of the Trophy Gold book. So, with that said, I want to do just a little bit of housekeeping with the group here before we get back to the incursion. First thing for housekeeping, if everyone can lower their ruin by 1 because of enjoying the feast, so please do that. And let's take a look at ruin with that in mind. It looks like Diane is down to 4. Osto is at 2, which is your starting ruin. Is that correct?
Yep.
And Korkaluk, are you down to 3, which is your starting ruin as well? Great. And so that should help you last a little bit longer in the dungeon. And then I want to check burdens. I will remind you that you cannot return to Fort Duhrin or anywhere until you have satisfied your burdens in amount of treasure. If you do that, if you go back too early, your character has to retire, and they will ultimately live out their lives in destitution and will never achieve their drive. Korkaluk, where do you stand in terms of treasures versus burdens at this point?
I have 5 burden, and I am carrying a liver worth of gold and 2 wolf tails worth of gold each, so I have 3 gold of looted carcass parts.
Okie doke. So you are making good progress, but not quite there yet. Diane, how are you on that score?
I have 5 burdens as well, and I have treasures worth just enough to cover them if I can sell the rare lavender orchid for 2. If I can only sell it for 1, then I can't quite cover it.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. Okay, good. And because I assume you're not going to get rid of your diabolical case. So,
not unless I have to, but yeah, I could in a pinch if
in a pinch
I needed to just get the heck out of here. But
fair enough. Osto, how are you doing with treasure v burdens?
I have 4 burdens, and right now I'm carrying 3 gold worth in fangs and a paw.
Nice, good. Great. And how's everyone doing on hunt roll tokens right now? Korkaluk, how many hunt roll tokens do you possess so far?
I believe it is 2. Let me double check here. Yeah, 2. Can I ask a quick question also about burdens and a hoard, just to confirm? If you have gold stashed in a hoard from a prior adventure, could you use that to satisfy burdens returning without enough gold?
You cannot have monetary gold stash from a prior adventure. It has to go in your hoard. But the hoard, you cannot take out of your hoard. No. Okay. If you take out of your hoard, you retire. So
okay.
You can only do that once via the Hearthfire rules. One time you can dip out, you can take out of your hoard. But if you do that, you will never achieve your drive. Your character is still in the game, but they can never achieve their drive if they take even a single gold out of their hoard. So the cosmos says no, you're done. Your drives, even though your character doesn't know that, but we know as players that they'll never achieve it. So.
Fascinating. Thanks.
And yeah, Diane, how are you doing on hunt roll tokens right now?
Currently have 3.
Oh, good. And Osto, it looks like you have 0. Is that correct?
0.
Okay. So a little brief recap. You were at the hunting lodge, the abandoned hunting lodge of the Marquess Niral. You arrived, started to explore the outer yard, particularly the greenhouse, and got into a nasty encounter with a pack of wolves. Turns out these are beast-bitten wolves. Or at least they can talk at any rate. And we're calling them the Eternal Hunters, this particular pack of beast-bitten wolves. But you proved your mettle and were invited to join them at a feast. And you did eventually go into the lodge. You saw some, it's a very beautiful, sort of entryway in the lodge, marred ever so slightly by the dying man and the interwoven in the candelabra. But otherwise, you join the feast. A good portion of the session was just enjoying the feast, talking to the various characters. It was a very kind of grim, gallows humor kind of scene, or extended scene. We had some tarot card reading. Some people had mixed results on their tarot card reading. Osto had no result on his tarot card reading. And we know that there was this strange freestanding door that has a wolf face carved into it, and behind it is a spiraling staircase. A spiraling staircase that should not exist in terms of the space. It is an impossible staircase. There's a lot of talk of a hunt. The Marquess Niral has invited you to join them around that time. It's still a couple hours yet. And so you all made the decision to go check out the rest of the manor before you just make a decision about the hunt. Did I miss anything in the recap? That was a fast recap, but I think that was mainly it.
Yeah, one thing left unexplored outside, we did not explore the Hedge Maze. And speaking out of character, I believe Trophy is published by Hedge Maze Press, and so I feel like there's got to be something good in there.
Right. That is it's published by the Gauntlet, but Hedge Maze Press Jesse did write the original game, but yeah. Co-published, I suppose, is one way of putting it. But we're paying for everything, so it's published by us. It's a good call, though. The Hedge Maze is a good observation. There's the Hedge Maze, and then we have the North Wing and the South Wing of the house are still areas to be explored. Was there anything else in the recap? All right. With that in mind, cool. Let's go to the last thing we saw, and it had no particular significance. I was just trying to end on a kind of horrifying note. But basically, there is a man, the man who was in the candelabra, his guts splayed open, dripping down. He's alive still, and he sort of like gasps out at you as he sees you. Just as a reminder that these people may not be as friendly as they seem. And he dies shortly thereafter. And so you are at the top of the stairs. As noted by Corkulek, there is still the Hedge Maze outside. We also have the North Wing of the Manor and the South Wing of the Manor. You are welcome to split up if you wish, or you can all go together. But I will turn it over to the group to discuss it. Whatever you want to do.
My guess is we have a limited amount of time before this hunt starts. So I'm doubting we're going to be able to explore every single nook and cranny in the house and the maze.
And if the book is valuable to the Marquess, he'll want to keep it nearby, especially during a hunt, I would think.
That's a reference to the book that we know or we believe is here, a book that contains information about all the monstrosities of the forest, very, very valuable to people who make their living in the forest. Right?
So search within the manor, it sounds like.
And then if we have time, go after the Hedge Maze.
Yeah. Time and stamina.
Yeah.
All right, north or south? Or do you want to risk splitting up?
I don't think splitting up is a good idea.
Hasn't gone well for us so far. So how about north?
Let's do north.
Excellent.
Let me pull that up real quick. The north wing of the manor. This is a new set. It has the set goal, find an exquisite treasure. So you can just stumble upon exquisite treasure, or you can spend 3 hunt roll tokens to satisfy this goal immediately. But essentially, this wing of the manor is a maze of small rooms. Each of these rooms has 2 or 3, or 4 doors, depending on how they connect to each other, right? Most of them appear to be small parlors with, just a few chairs and a table. Some have a fireplace and the attendant hardware. The walls are all smooth plaster painted with bold colors. Ornate gilt bronze plaster moldings line the ceilings and doorways, and each room has an elk horn and bronze candelabra that sort of lights it. So even though it's still, I think it's probably getting to be later in the day, maybe getting close to dusk, it's still maybe even a little later than dusk because you all spent quite a bit of time in the garden. You can still see pretty well because the candelabras that are lit. An interesting detail we're told is that the candles have no wax strips, meaning they were maybe just lit. I don't know, but a strange detail. In any case, I think that you have a few options here. You can check out some of these small parlors. There are a few of them. There's one small salon. And then there's also a sort of like long kind of gallery as well that sort of goes along one side, one wall. Let's start with Diane. What do you think?
I mean, Diane's willing to spend the 3 hunt tokens as opposed to risking losing them all. I don't know if anybody else wants to do something before that.
I think that's pretty wise. I can pitch in. I've got 2 hunt tokens, so if you want me to pitch in 1, so we're splitting our depletion of successes, that's totally fine with me.
Yeah, sure. So that puts me down to 1 and you down 1 as well.
Yeah, in terms of role-playing this, that's my question. Hypothetically, this book may be in one of these rooms. Maybe that's the treasure. Maybe there's something else. Is this just entirely in your hands? Will we spend it, or do we need to narrate a little more on?
If you choose to spend the tokens, you find whatever the exquisite treasure is that I have in mind for this. The goal is merely an exquisite treasure. It doesn't say what it is. If you want to continue searching after that, you can. There's other things to find, I'm sure, but there is one exquisite treasure.
Yeah, I like the economy of using some now. Let's do it.
Very good. You go ahead and spend those tokens, however you're going to do it. I mentioned that there's a gallery that is, it basically like, you have to imagine it sort of like once you go into this wing of the manor, there's like 2 sides essentially. And one side is mostly the salon and the small parlors. And then the other side, for a good length of it, is this gallery. And it just has a single door entrance. And it's a narrow gallery. In fact, probably Osto could touch both walls at the same time if they spread their arms out, right? And it is mostly devoid of ornamentation, except for at the far end. There is a single chair facing that end of the room, and next to it is a tall candelabra brightly lighting the immediate area. And you will see that at the far end of that room, on that wall, it is kind of the only thing in the room, really. There's a painting. And also at the far end of the room, at the foot of the chair, there is what appears to be the statue of a hunting hound, like a stone hunting hound. The painting is in a place of pride. Like it's the only thing in the gallery, and it's illuminated, and there's a chair specifically for viewing it. Okay, it's got to be valuable. It's fairly. It's not tiny, but it's not huge. You can easily put it with your things and carry it, no problem, out of here. Osto, what do you do?
What is the painting of?
You have to get closer.
Then I approach and try and get a closer look at the painting.
You take a few steps. Actually, do a hunt roll, because you did ask what is on the painting. Do a hunt roll. Let's see how that goes. Take a look at your skills and equipment. If you can justify exploiting one of those to get an extra die, you may do so.
I don't think so, unless the transformation skill with everybody being
It's
beast
not
mode.
looking great, no. I mean, maybe something in your,
You got a spyglass.
you know, something in your
Well, I
equipment,
do have a
possibly,
spyglass.
if you want to look at it from afar. I mean, you know, who knows? It's up to you, whatever you want to do.
Maybe that's a safer move.
It might be, yeah. In any case, I'm into it. If you use spyglass, take 2 dice, 2 light dice,
Okay.
or /hunt, 2.
2 and a 6.
Nice. Take a hunt roll token, and popping through your spyglass, you will see that it is a painting of what appears to be like a brothel, maybe. There's a bunch of like young men and women like entertaining other men and women, and the entertainers are more scantily dressed than the others. The others are likely patrons, and there is an old woman sitting at a table with her hand extended, clearly receiving payment. She's like the madam of this brothel or whatever. Let me take a look at your skills. I don't know if you would necessarily recognize the painting based off your skill set. I don't think so. But if you maybe hand over the spyglass to someone else, they may have a better idea.
Corkalook and artifacts.
Yeah, artifacts.
I think you will recognize the painting as a painting of the mythical, and I mean that word on purpose, mythical meaning the ancient, possibly not true past, the mythical painter Agino. Agino is sometimes referred to as the debauched painter, but in any case, his paintings are fabulously valuable to the right buyer. How do you know it's an Agino painting when you look at it?
It's not the signature because that's been forged so many times. It's a couple things. The color palette, he uses a specific kind of a rosy pink in some flesh tones that the recipe's been forgotten. No one's quite matched that chemical combination. And that's the thing that can distinguish his painting from other artists who have tried to imitate it.
Wonderful, I love it. So what do you all do at this point? Very valuable painting on the wall.
Seems unwise that such a thing would be left unprotected. I think Diane would like try and do his spirit sense to see if there's anything untoward between us and the painting.
Please do. Do a hunt roll with 2 dice.
It's a 5.
take a hunt roll token and you encounter something terrible, we could probably just say the thing you encounter is also the truth of what you're looking for, which is that the stone hound statue at the foot of the chair has an animating force in it. There's something that brings it alive. And the really terrible thing is it's already aware of you. It's just pretending not to be aware of you.
Can I try to break the curse that animates it?
I don't know if, let's see, let's take a look at your.
Like I specifically have a skill in curses, but
Yeah, I always take that to mean like understanding how curses work.
Okay, so it's not in like actually doing or laying them.
Yeah, I think that's more of a ritual, right?
Right. I guess I could put it to sleep.
Well, that's a possibility, right? Or swap bodies with it, expel it that way. But sending a person or animal to a deep slumber, it is an animal technically. Yeah, I think that's fair.
The swap bodies does have some interesting things there, because if I can hold it for long enough, then I can go on the hunt in that body and have whatever curse befalls that. But then I'm also a stone dog for the rest of this.
Yeah. Well, so what do you want to do?
I think I'll just put it to sleep.
Okay, so that's a risk roll. Brian and Drew, what could go wrong here?
It could backfire on Asta.
Could backfire on all of you, I think, possibly. Brian, any thoughts?
It's maybe far-fetched questioning whether the dog would cause greater destruction. Not quite knowing what its charge is, assuming it's to protect the painting. I don't know. I don't think I have anything better right now.
So you get one die if you can. I have to remind myself. Take one light-colored die if the task is something you are skilled at because of your occupation, background, or training, or because you're taking advantage of a piece of equipment or the environment. So what do you think, Diane?
I mean, I think I pretty much learned this ritual as part of like figuring out and messing with curses, so I would push for that.
Sure, I'm into that. And also spirits too, I think it's probably, or craft, actually, even your craft background, because this is a construct, right? I mean, I think you got several justifications there. And another light die, if you accept a devil's bargain from us all. I think I'll start fairly simple. My devil's bargain is you will not have access to your sleep ritual. No, that's boring. I'm not gonna do that.
I mean, I have a really good one, but I think it's a little bit cheap to make it myself.
Yeah.
I've got one that, successful or not, you have no conditions right now, that you are perpetually nodding off, essentially, from here for, until sunrise.
Good.
What if it howls in its sleep?
Oh, it alerts someone. It's pretty good. I say no matter what, the candelabra gets knocked over and possibly catches something inconvenient on fire.
I mean, something inconvenient could be the painting.
Or a drapery or something.
Yeah, right.
Who knows?
I mean, any fire is inconvenient when it's not in a candelabra. I do sort of like the nodding off one. That seems interesting in like a longer term rather than a quick exciting thing.
Okay, so you're up to 2 light dice, and then you have to do a dark die because of the ritual. So go ahead and roll first.
That's a 5, and the dark die is low.
The complication is going to be that you discover that for whatever reason, the painting is not easy to remove from the wall. You can avoid that possibility by adding a dark die and rolling again.
Yeah, sure, why not? Six.
Is dark high?
No.
No. Nice. Go ahead and describe the ritual. What does it look like when you put the dog to sleep?
I think before we described it as like a larger like chalk circle and stuff like that. But I think that was specific to Beatrix Mandrake and him not being very good at this yet. So I think at this point he's got like a little cloth scrap that he has sewn this circle into and just like chants the elements of the ritual over it. And I think like he's probably got multiple of these and it just like burns up. And then with that, the ritual takes hold.
Nice. That's fantastic. Gang, you get to name this creature. It is an animated stone hound construct thing. What do we want to call this? We're also running out of room, or have run out of room on our bestiary. Guess I could make a copy of it, huh?
I mean, is stone hound or stone dog too on the nose?
No, I don't think so.
You want to tie the name in with the painter Agino or no?
Oh, that's pretty good too.
Agino's hound, that's interesting.
Agino's hound.
Which I think that's maybe a bit tongue-in-cheek on our part because I don't think we really believe it's associated. It's just that's where we found it. Also, we keep running into him near Agino paintings, which would be really odd.
Nice.
That's awesome. If every time you're in the future, you're encountering another painting, it's sort of like, wait a minute, what's that?
Hey, how do we find more of these hounds?
Okay, so what did we settle on for the name?
Unless there's objections, I like Agino's hound.
All right, I got you covered there. Let's dial that down a little bit. Awesome. As you approach the painting, there is a plaque that has the name of the work on it or next to it. And the work is called The Ecstasy of Remuneration in the House of Pleasure. It notes that it is in fact by Agino. It is oil on leather. It's in a frame, like a kind of gilt frame. And it's intrinsically worth 4 gold, but to the right buyer, it's worth 8 gold. Or that's what you can get for it, at least. Who's going to be holding it?
Since Korkuluk recognized it and could maybe have a better chance of finding the right buyer, maybe Korkuluk?
All right, it's mental and emotional burden to care for such a relic, but I will do my best.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I think you've probably cleared out the gallery at this point. There's probably not much more to do here. You can check out some of these small parlors or the little salon as well, or you can head over to the south wing. Asta, what do you think?
I think if I had a tome that was important to me, it would be in my bedchamber or an office or a study. So perhaps we should head to the south wing and look for that.
Posted this in chat, but can also just take a good sturdy hammer blow to the sleeping hound? It's
Maybe. Yeah.
just putting it on the table.
Sure.
Destruction is a skill.
I think I'll probably make it a risk roll, because if you don't break it the first time, it probably wakes up. Right.
Right.
So, but if you want to do that, you're welcome to.
There's a saying, it's on the tip of my tongue, something about let sleeping stone something lie. I can't
I mean, that's usually when you didn't put them to sleep in the first place, but
I'm game for trying it, but if it's not disturbing us currently, do we think it'll notice that the painting's gone?
that's anybody's guess. But if it does, the sleep spell will end eventually anyway. Whether we're here at that point is anybody's guess as well.
I'll try it. Better safe than sorry.
All right, so we're looking at a risk roll for this. I think you are probably going to get a die. Or what could go wrong? What could go wrong? I think it's pretty easy. It wakes up and you have to engage it in combat. I think that's probably the obvious answer. But if Brian or Blaine have any other thoughts, I'm open to it.
I mean, like somebody else could notice that it's dead before the hunt. That's not necessarily like. I guess that's more of a devil's bargain.
Could be more of a devil's bargain. Yeah.
There's something inside the dog.
Oh, that's good. Something bad, presumably.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Probably not a gemstone, but
that's an interesting idea. I'll think about that if it fails. Okay, so I think you're going to light dive for destruction, obviously. So that's settled. Devil's bargain. Blaine, do you want your bargain? Do you want that? Would you recommend it to be your bargain?
Sure.
I'll offer that. Yeah, no matter what, there is, just to kind of play off Brian's failure condition a little bit. No matter what, the spirit that animates the thing is now like a free agent in the house.
All right.
We've got a slightly different one that the pulverizing this, assuming you're successful, the dust, the particulate, unknowingly lands upon your clothes in such a way that somebody's going to recognize that. Somebody who knew this hound will, when they see you, kind of be like, what is this upon your garment here?
I like that one.
All right,
yeah,
so you
that sounds fun.
Take 2 light dice if you have that, and then I don't think you're risking mind or body necessarily, so just roll 2 light.
5.
The complication is going to be the animating force is still there. It's maybe you'll be aware of it and you might have to deal with it in the moment, or make a decision about what to do with it. But it is, yeah, I think that's the complication. The animating force is something you might have to deal with right now. If you want to add a dark die and roll all 3 again, you can.
Okay. E. Highest is 3 dark.
And that's a miss. And 3 dark is high. I'll take the fiction. You raise your hammer to bring it down onto the stone hound, and actually, I have an idea. You raise the hammer, and from somewhere deeper in the house, you hear a sudden howl of multiple wolves, probably some of the feast guests. But in any case, it's enough to startle you to where your swing is imprecise, and it just goes down and just kind of smashes the marble next to the stone hound. The thing immediately snaps awake. It stands up or quickly spins around and kind of like goes into a sort of, a defensive position, right? It is beautifully, intricately carved. Like the fur looks almost realistic, though it is definitely like chiseled. There's fine chiseling in the stone that makes it look that way. It bears its stone teeth. Its eyes are glowing with a sort of strange green wear light, probably something to do with the animating energy in it. And it has an endurance of 9. Let's do that combat roll. Endurance 9 is pretty straightforward, not too difficult to deal with.
I have a question and shoot it down. It's more of I've got an idea in my head that's kind of gruesome, if I can pull it off. I have the scarecrow ritual. It's normally to take a construct of straw and burlap and set it sort of endlessly hunting a thing.
Right. Yeah.
Could I tweak that in a way to pull the spirit out of this stone hound and put it into this upholstered chair that's sitting here? I'm frustratingly gazing at a blank wall.
I think that I'm into it. I think there's a rather extreme danger in the sense that normally this is something that takes some time, right? Like you have to like take the time to perform the ritual, do the construct, sort of quickly harnessing Beatrix Mandrake's method to just manipulate the spirit is very, very dangerous. I'm open to it though. I'm definitely open to it. If you are, I think you need to not be in the combat. And if basically not be in the combat, if the combat goes beyond a second round, I think I'll give you a chance to do it as a risk roll.
That's what you're saying. So you two have to fight it without me.
Right.
And if we hit, second round or third round, then...
if it gets to the third round, then yeah, then I'll let you have it.
How do you guys feel about that? Otherwise, I can just jump in and fight.
I think it's fine. I just think like with a 9 endurance, it's probably like with 3 combatants, it's probably a relatively more straightforward.
It's probably a pretty easy fight, right? It's probably not that bad.
Okay.
I can just curb stomp this dog.
All right, curb stomp we shall.
Yeah. So everybody's tell me how you're vulnerable, and then roll your weak point. We'll start with Osto. How are you vulnerable right now?
Your sound's not coming through.
Sorry, I gotta press the button. He's still pretty surprised that he missed, and so he's not expecting the attack, and it will take him a bit to get his hammer back up and in position, so he's leaving himself wide open.
Yeah, very good. Roll your weak point. See what you get.
4.
4. How are you vulnerable right now, Diane?
He is soft and squishy as usual, and also his weapons aren't particularly
Good for stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Love that. And yeah, how about you, Corporal? How are you vulnerable?
At first I'm just sort of in an apoplexy here with that. I told you to leave sleeping stone constructs lie. Why didn't you listen to me? And I'm like, oh wait, hang on. There are more pressing matters right now than my frustration with how poorly this has gone.
So you're just talking it through and being indignant. Good. So I noticed that Diane had a 4 as well. Oof, 4 is a rough number. What'd you get, Corporal?
I had a 6.
Oof, these are not amazing weak points. Asto, why don't you lead the combat? Give me a combat 3, please.
Way to thread the needle.
5, 5, and 3. Hey, that's about as good as this could have gone. So, bravo. Going in turn, everybody just give me a little bit of the combat here. Corporal, why don't you start? What are you doing at the outset here of the combat? What's the scene look like?
I'm going with my earlier narrative, even though it didn't come to pass, is that I'm backtracking to the chair and trying to start, rapidly pull off Beatrix's incantation, and will not get a chance to successfully bring it to completion.
Diane, what about you? Give me the next part, Diane.
I think while Asto is still raising his hammer, Diane just grabs its tail and pulls it back as it's lunging at him.
Nice. Asto, finish it off. What does it look like?
As the dog gets tugged backwards, he raises his hammer and just smashes it down on the back of the thing's neck, separating its head from its body.
Nice. Good. Nice. You get to roll 9 gold dice. Whoever wants to do that.
I can, I guess.
Go for it, Diane. Hey, there you go. 2 gold. I'm going to stick with Corporal and Diane here. What do you find of value in this, smashed up stone construct?
I think, maybe the spirit was anchored to a particular part of it, probably the eyes, and the material of that is valuable in some way, maybe they're opals or something.
I like that. Opal eyes, that's great. Corklick, what do you think? Or you can just take 2 eyes and have that be the...
It's really take 2 eyes.
Yeah.
I've got an idea that I don't think is past our lines and veils here, but thinking about sort of fertility statuary I've seen, what if this dog was so realistic that it actually had testicles in the sculpture?
Oh.
And that you've got this kind of stone phallus left over in the rubble that to the right collector is going to be quite fast.
Possibly, yeah. I'm into it. It's fine by me.
That's too much.
Yeah.
Backpack to eyeballs.
Yeah, doesn't bother me. Fine. It's a little silly, but it's fine.
I'm thinking about Venus of Willendorf sort of fertility statues here in a way.
No, I'm into it. It's very, it definitely has a sort of antiquities quality to it, right? So, very good. So we have the opal eyes and the perhaps symbolically significant Geno's hound stone phallus.
I believe Asto is the lowest on found treasure at this point, right?
Yeah. Whoever's taking one, just say.
I am at 3. Yep.
Yeah, why don't you take it?
Thank you. I'll take the eye if you don't mind.
We can ignore the ridiculous phallus idea.
I like the idea. I just don't think he'd want it.
I mean, he doesn't have to keep it.
Fair enough. All right, phallus it is.
Okay, so what's next? You gather these things that you believe are going to be of value to someone. Not a
Sorry,
bad little
is Asto
score,
taking
all things
the
considered.
is Asto taking the eye and the phallus, or just the phallus? Because otherwise, somebody.
Just, I
Just
assume
the
just the
phallus.
phallus.
I think the Azure yours dying if you want them.
Sure.
So, yeah, and those are both worth 1 gold, by the way. So, Corkalook, what's next?
I believe before we foolishly made this decision to mess with sleeping stone golems, we were planning to head to the south wing, right? Let's proceed there.
Very good. The south wing is a you have to cross the main entryway to go to the other side, right? And the south wing is a brand new set. The set goal is find the best trophy. Now, this wing is actually just a series of larger halls, kind of like a museum. In fact, it looks like a museum. The floors are dark marble, walls are wood paneling, and each room has shelves, statues, and displays of hunting trophies and hunting paraphernalia from around the world. It's all well lit by sconces and chandeliers burning candles that, again, shed no wax. There are 3 halls. And they actually have like plaques like at their entrances that say what they are. The Hall of Plains, the Hall of Deserts, and the Hall of Kaldur. You can search any of these. There is also at the very far end of this sort of connective hallway, there appears to be some sort of back stairs that goes to perhaps another part of the manor. Diane, where do you go?
Meta knowledge wise, the Hall of Kaldur seems like a likely prospect.
Yeah, I mean, you all know that the land is called Kaldur, so
Right,
yeah.
and like also that like he was famous for having this bestiary of all the things in Kaldur as well. So I think Diane would think that as a likely spot to look.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Asto? Where do you go?
I think he'd also go for the forest. It's at least somewhat familiar to him.
And Corbaluk?
Just one question. I didn't quite hear what you said about the stairs. You said there were stairs beyond.
Yeah, so in this little like connective hallway that leads to the 3 sort of main museum spaces, there's a back stairs as well. You see them.
Going up, down, or both?
Going up.
Okay. I feel like for the moment, stick together and investigate the Hall of Kaldur.
Very good. As you are making your way, there is hanging next to the entrance of the hall, there's a tapestry of our favorite motif of a wolf. And a breeze comes from somewhere and flutters this tapestry, and it makes it seem like the wolf is actually running for a moment, but maybe that's it's just clearly an optical illusion. And you step into the Hall of Kaldur, and almost immediately the first thing you notice in the room is a giant statue of a common legendary figure known as the Old Man of Kaldur. It's well over 12 feet tall. The statue has ivy and bramble covered armor. And the figure is like a fierce and wild looking old man. It's a bronze statue, and it's holding a spear. And the rest of the room, it's very tastefully decorated in dark walnut wood, moody murals of the unusual landscapes of the Forest of Kaldur, taxidermied trophies of various creatures and things. Osto, what do you do? What catches your eye? Where do you go?
I think the first thing he would do is, after noticing the rustle in the tapestry, I think he'd try and poke it, maybe with the end of his hammer, see if there's wall behind it or something open.
Yeah, do a hunt roll. And since you're using the hammer, I'll give you 2 dice on that.
3 and 6.
Take a hunt roll token, but there's nothing special about it. What about you, Corklook?
Within that taxidermy, is there a bear?
Excuse me. Yes, but you'll quickly realize that the various taxidermy trophies the creatures look initially normal, but they're actually quite unnatural. And this particular bear that you see has what appears to be 2 sets of jaws. There's like one set and there's like a lower set of jaws. I assume you're interested in this because of your encounter back in Torrens Bend.
Yeah.
What do you do right now?
What I can.
And give me a hunt roll, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Seeing a double jaw makes me wonder: is this a creation where somebody has artificially added a jaw, or is this a naturally occurring sort of mutation?
We'll do a hunt roll and see if you can get a second die here. What do you think?
Artifacts for taxidermy in a sense. So
oh yeah, I'm into that. Yeah,
mimicry
antiquarian. Yeah, that makes sense. So you got 2 dice. Go for it.
5 and a 4.
The terrible thing that you discover or that you encounter, take a token, by the way, is that this bear, this is not sewn on. This bear had 2 jaws, 2 sets of 2 mouths, basically. And if you carefully examine it, it looks like it probably would have also had like 2 sets of internal organs, like they lead to 2 different sets of things. What do you do having discovered that or come to that?
2 things. I want to glance around at the other taxidermy briefly and see if they're all paired up in this way, and then I'm gonna point out to Asta, you might consider kind of amplifying your combat prowess by duplicating the pointy bits.
Astro just kind of gives Corkalook a look, and I'll consider that.
Diane, what are you doing?
He's examining this statue, I think. Is there like any sort of inscription, or is there like, you said it was like a bronze statue, is there like anything else that sticks out about it as valuable that is maybe that can maybe like be broken off?
Yeah, take a hunt roll. Let's see.
Okay. I don't know
Craft,
if I have,
probably.
Yeah, craft.
Mm.
That's a 6 and a 5.
Nice. Take a hunt roll token. I will tell you that the spear is not made of bronze. It's not made of bronze. And it's also clearly separate from the statue.
Yeah. Can I spend some hunt tokens to take that spear as a treasure?
You can just take it. I mean, so it's right there. There's no need to spend a token.
Okay, I wasn't sure
Yeah.
how that was going to work. Yeah, I'll absolutely take the spear.
Yeah, spending the hunt roll tokens is treasures that you didn't notice before. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So as soon as you touch the spear, the moment you lay a hand on it, the brambles and thorns that are part of the statue's decor, that around the armor of the old man. They animate. And indeed, all three of you will notice, to your great horror, that this bramble and vine motif actually goes down beneath the statue. It's worked into the pattern on the carpets. It's worked into the pattern on the wallpaper. And this bramble and vine all animates in the room and begins lashing and lunging at you. This is not a combat roll. It's a risk roll, but it's a risk roll you all have to make in order to escape it. Let's start with Corkuluk. You're probably most vulnerable right now because you're so busy looking at your bear, and maybe these brambles have a chance to grab you before you realize what's going on. Once you realize what's happening, though, that they're trying to grab at you and trying to choke you, trying to tear at you, what do you do to try to escape? Also, I think this is a good point to have a break so you all can think about how you're going to respond to this. Let's just take like a quick 5-minute break and we'll come back. Okay. Actually, I'm going to retract what I said about everyone needing to make a risk roll. I'm okay with one risk roll if someone among the three of you has a good plan for how it would save everybody in this moment. So, thoughts?
I have the ward ritual. Maybe I could get to the door and protect it from the vines, keep a clear area.
Oh yeah, I like that. That sounds great to me. Unless if everyone agrees, or at least I don't know. Let's just go with that. Since you spoke up, stay concentrating to protect a small area. So I think we'll see how the die roll goes, but it could be you might have to leave. You may not be able to stay in the room if you're just holding them off, right? But we'll see.
And
so
chaperone, almost like leading somebody who's unable to see, kind of like by the shoulder and trying to hatchet away things that come too close.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think in the fiction, I'm assuming all three of you are doing something, but we're just gonna have one roll stand for the outcome here. What could go wrong? This is for myself, Blaine, and Brian.
Somebody could be caught on the outside.
Yes. So one of you doesn't make it. That's pretty good. I think what could go wrong is it could just be as simple as it doesn't work, and you all just get harmed in some way by these choking vines and brambles.
Again, I'm picturing some of this clinging to our shoes, sort of trailing behind us as evidence that we've been trespassing around the house.
Indeed. So let's take a look at the dice. We've got persistence, maybe, as a skill that applies. I don't know. What do you think, Austin?
He could be stubbornly concentrating to protect.
Yeah, I mean, I think the concentration is the key there for me, right, for the ritual. Devil's bargains. My devil's bargain is no matter what, you have to leave the room.
Okay, I'll take that.
Unless there's any other offers on the table.
Just a point of order. Do I effectively have the spear already, or would I have to stay?
You have the spear. Yeah, you have the spear.
Other devil's bargains.
Someone could put the spear in danger with the devil's bargain, of course. But
I don't necessarily recommend you take this, but I can picture it in our haste to exit that 12-foot tall bronze statue topples.
Or perhaps like somebody could lose something before they're protected, like the vines grab it out of their backpack or something.
Yeah, those are all pretty good.
I think I like the idea that the brambles leave evidence of what we've done. Not that hiding a spear is going to be super easy anyway, but
Well, so the deals were you either have to leave or the statue falls.
oh right,
or,
yes.
Or the brambles manage to pickpocket one of you, essentially.
Actually, I like that the statue falls.
All right, very good.
So
Yeah, that's great. So let's have the die roll. So it's 2 light, 1 dark.
uh, 4, 3, and dark 2, 1.
The complication is going to be the statue's going to fall, and it's going to fall in an awkward way, Diane, to where it might snap the spear before you can fully get your hands on it. If you want to avoid that result, Osto, you can add a dark die and try again.
Sure. Oof. Dark 6.
Full success, but your ruin does go up. We'll talk about that in a minute. Go ahead and describe the ritual. How do you keep these things at bay, such that you can all stay in the room, indeed?
So when the vines start to pull up from the floor and he realizes what's going on, he kind of works his way, kind of triangulating between his 2 companions and hopefully leaving room to get to the door. And as he moves, he's turning into the bear, and he just kind of lowers his head and sticks his arms out to either side and closes his eyes. And as he does, like just a ripple in the air around him, and it keeps the vines at bay.
Yeah, and I imagine them sort of like kind of pressing back into the wallpaper and the carpet and things, but they're like kind of gradually, they're trying to get out. You can see them kind of like trying to break free, from their material prison, but they can't because you're focusing on it. And the ones that are on the statue struggle in such a way that the statue falls, right? Diane manages to get the spear out before it is too much trouble. And I think the main issue where your ruin comes from, your ruin goes up, but also one of the brambles manages to wrap around your ankle, Osto, and the thorns prick your ankle, and it's pumping you full of something. I think you're going to take the condition blood tainted by old Caldor.
Okay.
I'll type Caldor in the chat so you know what blood tainted by old Caldor. Who knows what that means? Maybe we'll find out later. But in any case, the situation is under control, if a bit tenuous, because of the focus that Osto has to maintain. Osto's almost like in a kind of fugue state or a sort of stasis as he sort of focuses on this, right? You maybe don't understand what magic's at play, but there's definitely magic at play. But Korkuluk, what do you do?
I feel like I should use my hatchet to sever this bramble around his ankle.
You can do that easily, no problem.
Okay. And then if Dion has the spear, I don't know that there's a lot more we're trying to pull from this room. So I sort of feel like chaperoning people out is the right move to kind of let Osto maintain concentration and by the shoulders kind of, well, yeah, bears have shoulders.
Haunches.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
By the shoulders or haunches kind of guide his bear form out of the room.
Yeah, Diane, are you cool with just leaving?
Yeah, I don't think we saw anything that was particularly valuable otherwise, unless there was particularly big trophy or great trophy, which I guess is like towards the second. But
Yeah,
check out the other.
Yeah, the spear is probably, I mean, clearly it's well protected, so they don't want you to take it. So, yeah, you can manage to get out. And I just have a question for Osto. This condition that you have, how does it initially start to reveal itself? Like, just as you, like, how do you know there's something strange about your blood right now?
I think it. The first thing that happens is that his concentration, which he's normally pretty good with, it starts to weaken. His thoughts wander, and they wander toward the forest. And but the images that he gets in his head aren't from him as a person; it's from him as a bear.
Nice. Let's talk about this spear. It is a barbed spear, Diane, the proportions of a kind of a shorter spear. No, it's a barbed spear that is very well crafted. You do have a crafting skill. You'll be able to tell that it's quite valuable. And the materials alone make it worth 2 gold to someone who's interested in weapons. Yeah. What do you do with this barbed spear? Are you just gonna anything else? Are you just gonna pack it away until you're ready to?
I mean, he'll give it like a quick inspection, but other than that, like he's probably like hung up his sickle on his belt because this is definitely a better weapon.
Yeah, very much so. Good. So back out in the sort of main hall of the South Wing, you have the Hall of Plains that has not been looked at, the Hall of Deserts, and then you of course have those back stairs that are toward the end there. Corkluck, what do you do?
I feel like if we're still hoping to find this sort of bestiary tome, that it's more likely to be upstairs rather than in a hall of plains or desert. If these halls are environmentally themed, as they seem to be. What do y'all think?
I agree.
Yep.
So upstairs then.
As you approach the stairs, at the top of the stairs, you can hear the sounds of the feast. This is seemingly perhaps just another way of getting into the feast hall.
Oh, if it's just a stairs and a door, then or doorway back down to the, what do you think, desert hall?
Yep. Sure.
As you step into the Hall of Deserts, one of the windows in the room, you can see now that it's actually quite late outside. And there's a slow cloud passing in front of the nearly full moon. And then a faster cloud appears in the sky and overtakes it. And as they separate from the moon, only the second cloud remains. The Hall of Deserts is a polished sandstone floor, and it's matched by sandstone pillars spaced all around. The room is full of shelves, upon which are displayed preserved scorpions and spiders at a glance. Osto, what do you do?
He looks around the room, and as his human form kind of takes over again, there's a definite look of distaste on his face at those spiders. And he wanders looking for anything else beyond just scorpions and spiders.
Right, yeah. Take a hunt roll.
2.
Mm.
More spiders.
No. You are poking around and you see on a little plinth in the corner of the gallery, a little bit behind one of the sandstone pillars, there's a book. Perhaps this is the book you came to get. But in any case, you open the book and it's a hollow book. All the pages have been cut out. And inside there is a nest of centipedes. What do you do?
He reacts almost without thinking and just kind of slams the book closed and just whaps it off the plinth.
Indeed. Corklook, what do you do?
Is the plinth large enough to have a hollow base or a space behind it where there might be a different book?
Make a hunt roll. Let's see. Obfuscation, I assume, is the skill you're going for here.
So 2 light dice?
Yeah, I assume you're using obfuscation. Seems like the appropriate skill for this moment. Is that a 6 light?
Correct, yes. Both are light.
Awesome. Let me take a look at the notes here. Are you like kind of tapping the plinth, or how are you investigating it?
I'm looking at it more in the sense of this seems like the false idol, the booby trap that's here to say this is the book you're looking for, but really it's nearby. And so
Right, yeah.
Rapping on it with some porcelain fingers, trying to poke a twig in, see if there's a crevice where I can pull a panel out or anything like that.
Yeah, indeed, there is a false hollow space in the plinth. Always check the plinths. It's the wisest advice for dungeon crawling. Always check the plinths. Also, take a hunt roll token if you didn't know one already. You can pop this panel open. There's not a book inside the plinth, but you do see what appears to be, how to describe this? I'm not sure if you'd know right away what it is. There's a bowl, like a silver bowl, and carefully arranged in the bowl, in this dark little space, are a collection of gelatinous spheres about the width of a silver dollar. And each of the gelatinous spheres is a sort of like, kind of like a greenish color. And in the center, a translucent greenish color. And at the center is like a sort of black core inside the little sphere.
So sort of an oversized fish egg in a way.
Yeah, like an egg. Yeah.
Seems worth pulling them out. Any objections to, lifting the bowl out with these gelatinous things untouched for the moment? Just in case they transform when exposed to light. Maybe just be ready.
You pull them out and nothing happens, but what do you do with them, though? They look very delicate.
How many are there?
A few dozen.
Oh, okay. So enough to experiment. Alrighty. I will pick one up and kind of lift it up, peer at it closely, see if it's moving within or responds to my touch.
Make another hunt roll. What are you doing in the meantime, Diane?
Is there like I mean, I kind of don't want to risk more hunting because I'm sitting on 3 hunt tokens right now.
You can always spend one to find a treasure.
Yeah. Yeah, I could do that. And then also, I sort of, as a secondary goal, want to find a way to maybe disguise the spear so that when we go back up into the hunt, it's not like, oh, hey, there's that spear from my room.
Right, yeah.
So maybe if there's like a particularly dull tapestry that I could wrap around it somehow.
And there's that wolf tapestry back at the entrance of the
I think you probably recognize that too.
Yeah. Well, it's a thought. I mean, just looking around this particular hall, there's really nothing. It's quite a sparse room. It's just these sandstone pillars and insects all over the place.
Yeah.
So.
Ooh, wolf pelt. That's a good idea. Although they might take offense to us using the pelts of their fallen comrades.
Well, they've seen that. That was what got us invited to the feast. They know that.
Yeah, they didn't seem to care too much about that.
Okay. Yeah, then I'll just like wrap a wolf pelt around it and like maybe leave part of the tip sticking out so it's maybe still useful.
Okay, fair enough. Well, so let's go back to these eggs. What was your hunt roll?
Okay. I had a quick question. I don't know if I was rolling with 1 or 2 dice. Does mimicry engaged in this help out or no? I don't know.
I don't think so, no. If you had some kind of like scientific type skill, maybe. But what about like any equipment or anything from the equipment, the open equipment?
Good idea. Let's look at that. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, because you definitely don't want to do a 1 die roll and possibly lose all your roll tokens.
Would a lead bottle work to like kind of stick this thing inside of a bottle?
So they can be kind of protected while you're
protected, but gives you a chance to kind of agitate it within a container as well.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Almost like an experimental test tube.
Yeah, I'm into that. Yeah, you can. Yeah. Add that to your thing, and then go ahead and make 2 dice roll or 2 die.
All right. 6 and a 1.
Take your hunt roll token. I think at this point you're not really able to deduce anything. Maybe at the most you can tell that it's definitely an egg because the little black core seems to have maybe like just an ever so slight movement to it, but that could just be a trick of the light, to be honest, at this point. So.
Asta, how do you feel about me busting your spyglass and taking one lens out to use it as a magnifying glass on something quite tiny? I'll buy you another one once we're back in town.
Fair enough. Go for it.
Just checking, is a spyglass on the backpack list? No, looks like. Yeah, if you're all right with that. Well, that's going to constitute another hunt roll. I'm sitting on 4 hunt tokens also. I feel like we should probably burn some hunt tokens here.
I'm also on board with burning hunt tokens.
All right, how about this? Can I take some fabric and kind of wrap this bowl to contain the remaining gelatinous eggs? and kind of gently put it within my sack, and then from there we go to burning up some hunt tokens to find the most valuable trophy within this wing. Sound okay?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah, absolutely.
contribute
Yeah,
one.
yeah. You can definitely do that. I think these eggs are always going to be kind of like in peril because they're so delicate. But yeah, for the time being, that will work.
Would it maybe be safer to put them in my heavy case along with the orchid?
If you're up for that, they might leave
Would be
against
better.
the
Yes.
Yeah, it'll at least make them less vulnerable, not necessarily taking away the vulnerability. Cat knocking stuff off.
So you're going to put it in there with the orchid. Good. Just note that so we know who has what. And it sounds like you're going to spend some tokens to find treasures and or possibly solve the set goal.
Yeah, I do have a question mechanically. So all of my slots for found stuff are filled. Does that mean I can't take any more, or?
No, there's no hard limit. We just kind of go with what makes sense. Like at a certain point, you might just have so much stuff where it's like you got to get rid of some of the stuff. You have too much stuff.
Yeah.
You're probably okay for now.
Okay.
Yeah, you're okay. The pelt is probably the most like cumbersome thing, honestly, that you have right now.
Right, and right now it's wrapped
and
around the spear.
The case and the pelt, and then the spear. Yeah, so you're getting up there, but you're okay for the time being.
Do you want to do a reverse of last time, and I'll spend one and you spend two, and we get the set goal?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep.
So the set goal was. Where's the set goal?
I can contribute one too, and then we each do one.
Oh, if you want. It's find the best trophy. I'm sitting on 4, so in that sense of, what am I saying? The risk of rolling a 1 and losing them all, probably better that we're evenly split on what we have in what we're currently holding.
I just want to have some banks so that when we get to the hunt, we can solve that one quickly.
Fair enough.
Find the best trophy. So you have spent the tokens. I'm going to take the fiction here for just a moment. Just a minute. You find what you came for. You go to the final hall, the Hall of Plains, and it's a large square room with gray granite floors, and the wood in the room is a sort of light oak. And the center of the room has a display of a taxidermied bison fighting a pack of hyenas, also taxidermied, obviously. The walls have mounted trophies and a display of hunting weapons, slings, bows, and spears, that kind of thing. And this hall also functions as a sort of library or office, because at one end there is a desk and a small case of books. And if you sort of toss these books, you find the book you came looking for. It's just stuck on a shelf like another book. Its importance is probably much more important to you all in the present day than it is to whoever put it there originally, right? Because to them, it's just their notes. But you thumb through it, and it is indeed this book that has notes of many monstrosities of not just the forest, but also of other lands as well. I think you find an entry for the yellow-humored lurker. It's not called that, but the description fits. And there is a couple of pages missing in the B's that are not there, but the rest of them are all intact. And Yeah, this book does have a lot of value back at Fort Durin. You could definitely sell it for, you can sell it for 4 gold. Alternatively, you can keep it, and anytime you encounter a monstrosity that could potentially be in this book, meaning something you could find out in the wilds or in the wilderness, you can roll a d6 or a die, and on a light die, and on a 6 on that light die, there's an entry for the monster, and you can learn its weakness. So
Learning weaknesses will pay for itself eventually. You're muted, Blaine.
I was just saying pretty quickly, honestly.
but the book has no title. It's more like a journal. So it's not like a published book. It's just some notes of the various Marquess Nirals over time.
And so the page for Beast Bitten is torn out, huh?
Correct. That's been removed.
Alsto, should you carry it for now?
I can hold on to it, sure.
All right.
Well, anything else you want to do in this in the South Wing, or you want to, or what's next?
Did we, by chance, hear like the call that started the hunt?
Not yet.
Okay. Like he said we'd hear it, so I say we trust him and then go check out the hedge maze.
Interesting. Yeah, that works. Unless we want to, I think that's fine. The only other things that it seems like we've not really tucked into, there were some parlors and a salon that we didn't really get to into the North Wing, but you know, I think the hedge maze is fine.
Yeah.
As you are leaving the Hall of Plains, which has various trophies, you know, stuffed animals hung on the walls, one of them is worth pointing out. It is a taxidermied hound pinned to the wall. Its belly is open and exposed, and it contains within its belly a mangled taxidermied cat. Itself, with its belly open and exposed, inside of which is a mangled taxidermied rat. Sort of trophy turducken, if you will. One of the more artistic displays in the Hall of Plains. But you make your way out back to the central hall, and in a nice little echo of that moment, you see that man hanging above in the candelabra, his insides open, but nothing there but just dangling guts. It's nighttime at this point, as I've already noted. You'll know that as soon as you step outside by the sound of crickets and things and other nighttime animals, bullfrogs. Do you go over to the hedge maze?
Yep.
I've got a 300-foot ball of twine, and it's time to put that thing together.
Indeed, indeed.
So I'm gonna tie a real nice sturdy knot off of a railing or post somewhere convenient, and start spooling that out as we go along.
I love it. That's great. So the hedge maze is a set, and it has the set goal: reach the center of the maze. Now, there's a stone archway that serves as the entrance to this maze, and it is almost completely covered with vines and overgrowth from the hedges. And as you step inside, what was likely once perfectly shaped hedges have turned kind of feral. Maybe not literally so. I'm not going to promise that, but it's grown. It's mangy, right? It's overgrown. It it's not well kept. Unlike the interior of the manor, which is reasonably well kept, this is more wild. And so you are using the string to find your way out, which is good. How are we navigating? Because it's kind of a complicated maze. You immediately start to realize that you're making a fair number of turns, left, right, another left. Osto, any thoughts?
He is tempted to just barrel through a wall and try and find the center the hard way, using destruction, I guess.
I like that. I think that's an interesting approach. I'm into it. Just literally tearing your way to the center. Yeah, and because you have destruction, and if you're willing to turn into the bear, especially, I am open to that. What could go wrong, Brian and Blaine?
He could get stuck.
At an inopportune moment, yeah.
You could tear through a chunk of hedge and find that this is not all level ground.
Right. You take a little tumble. Yeah. I like those. I don't think I have anything else to add. So let's take a look at your dice. We're going to get a light die for destruction and devil's bargains. My devil's bargain is no matter what, the hedge reacts badly to the fact that you have the blood of old Cald. You have your blood has been tainted by the sap of old Caldor.
Okay.
Any other offers?
My thought was initially similar, but in a sense that Osto seems to have it in for plants, and for a being of the forest, that's kind of a hell of an antipathy to have. So questioning this notion that plants in the future will recognize you from a distance as a threat.
Intriguing. So like an added condition, something about, I'm into that kind of a cosmic problem that Osto has to deal with to add to his other cosmic problems. Blaine, any offers?
No matter what, for some reason, we can't follow through the path that he's made.
Oh, that's really good. So only Osto gets to the middle. That's pretty good too.
I like the idea of plants everywhere, kind of holding a grudge.
Holding a grudge of sorts. Good. So you're up to 2 light dice. I don't think you're necessarily risking mind and body yet. So go ahead and roll your 2 light dice.
4.
I think that you are going to, the complication is you are going to be tearing through the bramble, and there are sharper thorns and rougher pieces than you're aware of initially as you're tearing through it. You get into like a frenzy maybe, and you'll take a ruin, but you'll get to the center. If you don't want to do that, you can have dark die.
No, I'll do that.
Give me the scene. What does it look like?
So after probably not as much time as one would think wandering the hedges, he just shakes his head and bears up, I guess, and just reaches forward and just pushes the branches aside and shoves his body through and tries to leave enough room for people to follow him, and just continues forward, grunting and getting minor scrapes as he goes and getting more frustrated that he's not there yet, but eventually manages to find what looks to be the center.
Corklick and Diane, are you actually following?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm picturing like a moment where we just like sort of look at each other, shrug, and then just like follow.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Indeed. You reach the center, or close to the center. It actually lets out into a little little passage that kind of goes to a sort of like a tunnel. And the tunnel is made of brambles that have grown overhead. So these brambles have kind of grown together overhead, forming this tunnel. And you can see, it's the center because it feels about right based off how long it took to get there, but also it looks ornamental there, and like a larger open space. And as you're passing underneath the bramble, there's little bits you feel some dripping of fluid or sap from the bramble, or from the thorns above. And in the center of the maze, it's a large open circular area the size of, it's like the size of it's pretty good size, like the size of like a small courtyard maybe. And there's grass lining the outer edge of the circle. And in the center is a pool. And in the center of the pool, the water of which is sort of unmoving and green with muck. In the center of the pool, there's a little platform, atop which is a large topiary of a sleeping wolf, like a wolf curled up. You have solved the set goal and reached the center of the maze. The topiary moves. It opens its eyes, revealing sort of glowing green wear-light that glows quite bright in the darkness of the night. And it shambles up and stands up, and it moves its head, which is just a bush, right? It moves its head and thrusts it upwards and makes a motion like a howling wolf, but no sound comes out because it's topiary. And then it leaps off of the platform right amidst the three of you. A number of whip-like thorny vines sprout off of its body, looks vaguely like a displacer beast for anybody who knows D&D monsters, but it's this big topiary. It's quite tall, like at the shoulder. It's about as tall as you all are. And it's got this crown of whip-like vines flying out of its body. And it's particularly focused on Osto. Osto may not know why yet, but it is, because plants are angry at you. And I think this is a combat. The endurance is 10, sorry. The endurance is 10. Osto, you have to roll 2 weak points because of your condition.
Okay.
Any chance that topiary is in our bestiary?
Probably not enough time to look it up, but if you have to come back and find it, maybe you'll have time.
I'll definitely be doing homework reading this bestiary.
Indeed. Endurance is 10. Not the worst fight in the world with 3 players, but yeah. How are you vulnerable, Osto? 3 and a 4. How are you vulnerable apart from the fact that it's just focused on you? Or is that it?
I think that's a good way to keep him vulnerable, but could the taint in his blood be slowing him down too?
Oh yeah, like sap. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I like that a lot. Nice. Diane, how are you vulnerable?
Like maybe just like with the positioning, like he's like right next to Asto, and so is going to be like getting some of that extra fury just as like splash damage.
Yeah, for sure. Corkluck, how are you vulnerable? Go ahead and roll your weak point, Diane.
Yeah, I rolled my weak point already. It's a 4. In terms of how I'm vulnerable, remember that I am a construct made out of porcelain, but also out of twigs and vines. And so there's a bit of the like, oh, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you, while I'm trying to, regretfully swing an axe at my own tissue.
Indeed. Great. I will tell you that because you're using your axe, you have inadvertently discovered its weakness, which is severing attacks. So you have 9 now. The endurance is 9. Diane, what was your roll? 2? Okay, so we have 4, 3, and 2 as our weak point numbers. 4 is particularly nasty. Let's have Corkluck, why don't you roll this one? Roll 3 combat dice.
Sorry, remind me, it's combat space 3?
Yep.
Ooh, 2, 2, 1. Remember, I was going to have a weak swing because I just didn't want to do it.
Right. Does not go so great for Diane because 2 is Diane's weak point. Let's talk about what this looks like. Let's have a little bit of the fiction. You have not defeated it. Osto, what does this look like in the beginning?
I think he, with the beast so close, like he can't get his hammer up to get a good swing, and he's just kind of wildly with his paws batting at it and trying to keep it from doing too much damage.
Keep it going, Diane.
Yeah, I think Diane is like, now he's got a spear, which is actually a decent weapon, but he's not used to it at all yet. So he's just like going at it, and it just like gets tangled in the vines, and like it's
yeah, probably a great weapon in general, maybe a useless weapon against this thing.
Yeah. Like maybe the barbs are helping a little bit. But.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's where I feel like I'm like, I don't have the strength to do this. And I was like, Diane, and tossing the axe, and then I just throw myself onto this hedge and try and like, sort of pin it, like, kind of entangle myself in its limbs to try and thwart it a little bit while Diane hopefully can make use of this axe.
And Diane, I think the way you get hurt is one of the whip-like brambles wraps around your throat and just tightens around your throat, and we just see like the thorns cutting into your neck and blood dribbling down. And so while you've got it on your spear, it's got you by the neck. Let's continue. Osto, you do the roll this time. Now you're up to 4 dice. And Diane, if you want to back out because you're pretty high, you can. You just have to give your weak point to someone else.
Oh, the roll already was made.
Okay, well, it was a successful roll at least. Not for Osto, not a great roll. But are you dead, Osto?
I will take the hit to my gauntlets.
Okay, good. I'll give Corkluck the start of this round. What does it look like, Corkluck? What are you doing?
All right, so as I mentioned, I'm tossing my axe to the side, saying I don't have the strength to do this, and kind of grabbing hold of this beast's fluffy green legs, almost like in a rodeo where you kind of lasso the hind legs of a being. I'm going to try and take a vine and lasso the back feet of this and sort of flip it, and in so doing manage to get torn up and mauled bit myself because I'm taking a point of ruin.
Indeed you are. And Diane, give me the next bit of the combat.
I think I think he was probably a little bit distracted when the axe comes flying his way, because like I imagine like he'd probably like let go of the spear with at least one hand and was like had his sickle out to cut the part that was like choking him, and then has to drop the sickle to catch the axe.
Nice. And Osto, finish it off. Kill this thing, because you all did roll a 10, so that's enough to kill it.
So he manages in his flailing, and he gets a good grip on what looks like its face and just kind of digs his fingers in and just tears it out from the center. And
Nice. Yeah. I love it. Diane, do a 9-die gold die or gold roll. Gold die roll.
Question, is it 9 or 10? Because we learned its weakness.
It's 9. You always roll whatever the end endurance was. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's 4.
Wow, that's a good haul.
Yeah.
This monster actually has some listed harvest items for it in the incursion, and basically it's all just. So in fact, there's nothing to be gained from the topiary itself. It is just a bunch of bushes and animated bushes, basically. But the topiary was defending the pool, and you can get what was in the pool. So if you just sort of do a quick, kind of scrape the bottom of the pool or whatever, you'll recover a few things. Each of these is worth 1 gold. So just whatever you're taking, just call it out and write it down. We have a decorative scabbard. The scabbard is decorated with red threads sewn and it's like scorpions all along the scabbard, like kind of woven, embroidered on it. There is a brass bangle, which is worth 1 gold. There is what appears to be a scroll tube sealed with wax. The tube itself, in the contents, its intrinsic value is 1 gold. There might be something inside of it then. And then there is a well-made dagger that has the head of a wolf on the pommel. It needs to be cleaned up and de-rusted, but if you do so, it's worth 1 gold. Who's taking that?
Diane would take the bangle.
Oster would take the dagger.
I guess should I take a scroll tube and later on we find out what's inside? Carry it for now.
Yeah.
All right.
Who's taking the scabbard?
I can if you want, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Diane has enough money to get by for this session, so whoever needs it.
I wouldn't mind it.
Take it then.
Thanks.
We're going to go on a break, but before we go on that break, you hear the horn blowing, calling you to the hunt. And you hear the Marquess from deep in the house. Alight, alight! The hunt is ready to begin. Let's take 5. Okay, we're back. You hear the horn. I assume you all go to the feasting hall or no?
We were just sort of debating that.
You are all not in great condition. But who knows? This might be the last chance to ever join the hunt. It is an open question.
Yeah, it's like with Diane being one away again and not having armor this time, that feels pretty risky for him.
Is there a chance for us to scavenge some armor within the estate grounds?
I mean, you could obviously do some hunt rolls and keep searching, I suppose, but you didn't notice anything in your initially in your looking about.
So, like the gallery or the hall of the plains with the hunting weapons, there wasn't, a spare breastplate or 2 hanging up on the wall or a shield.
So no, there's nothing like that in the incursion.
Could we spend hunt tokens to find treasures that count as armor, or is that not what?
I think you are all now at the crossroads of trophy gold between risk and reward. Mm-hmm. And you have to make a decision about this, which path you want to take.
Yeah, and I think in character, Diane is not ready to take that risk. Like if he was feeling better, he'd probably risk going on the hunt and dealing with whatever cursed stuff that brings. But with as bad as he is and just being nearly choked to death, I think he's out.
Same with Osto.
Corklick, you can still go forward.
And I'm a little less battered, but it didn't cross my mind, should I try to go on the hunt alone? Because I'm really curious to see what this hunt is, and yet I really don't think I'm going to make it by myself. So it seems like retreat to town. We've got plenty of treasure to save our burden, even though I want to know what this hunt is.
Osto's definitely curious about the hunt, and he probably even feels some mild allegiance to the other beast bidden, if only because maybe he could learn more about himself. But yeah, the taint, the strange feelings he's having, and all the hits he's taken. Yeah.
Sounds like we're going to Fort Duhrin Part 2. And so, as you turn back toward the rusty iron gates, you can hear the Marquess Niral's voice faintly as he yells in the feast hall. Friends, I can tell that today is the day. Bearing in mind it's middle of the night, but for you, but today is the day that we finally take down our prey. And there's a hurrah that goes up amongst the crowd, howling of wolves mixed in with the yelps of cries and cheers of excitement. And all of that gets quieter as you make your way back out into the woods, setting out back towards your path to Fort Duhrin. Let's take a look at Hearthfire. All right, so Hearthfire, you have all of the things there in front of you in terms of like what you need to know about Hearthfire. It's all kind of on your character sheet, but as a reminder, you can establish a household if you need to. If you already have a household, you can go to it to clear some ruin and your conditions. You can learn spells, you can get training, you can open up crossed out slots in your backpack, you can go to the tavern and do some tavern things when you carouse. There's all sorts of things to be done. You can just heal in general. What do you need to do? And at this point, you're all kind of like going your separate ways, at least during Hearthfire. You can join back up again later. But let's go around, and it also might be helpful just to have the actual Hearthfire sheet in front of you. You might want that as well. See if I can find it for you. Here it is. Did I put that? I didn't put that in the folder, did I? Of course not. I can upload it though. The PDF I just uploaded into the folder has all of the Hearthfire options laid out in a single sheet on the last page of that PDF, if you'd rather look at it that way. Those are all the things you can do during upkeep. Let's start with Osto. Osto, what do you want to do first?
Do I have to do anything to convert the items to gold, or just?
Well, so yeah, let's talk about that. Let's go ahead and get your burdens sorted out. So burdens first. Thank you. That's probably the right thing to do first. Yeah, as much as, so if you don't have any, basically you just need to cash in like gold and or items equal to gold to match your burdens. If anyone has a question about their treasure, like the value of it, we can talk about that. For example, the painting is probably, you can sell it for 4 gold now, but if you want to sell it for 8, I think that's a bigger ask, and we'll probably take maybe a little side encounter or something, or a little side mission or whatever. But
Can I ask a quick question about that, because I'm also from Hester's Mill, sitting on a banknote from Ambaret, which
taking the painting and the banknote to Ambaret would be a very good idea, but you're not in Ambaret. So,
right.
Yeah.
Kind of is it worth that in sort of a side quest to try and take this painting and sell it there as well? Because the two together could be up to 12 gold, but I don't know. What do you guys think? And also, in the game, I don't know how far away that is. Is that a few days walk? What are we talking about?
We'll do the journey rules if you want to go to Ambaret, which it's probably by horse. It's probably a week or so.
What do you feel? 4 gold now?
I mean, it would be fun to delve into the journey rules, but
Right. Well,
I don't know what
see if
like our long-term plans for bringing folks back and all that.
But I think if you can meet your burdens now without having to sell the painting, that's probably ideal. Then you can just decide later, right?
Mm-hmm.
A note about the spear, Blaine or Diane. The spear is magical. You'll have figured that much out before you get back to Fort Duhrin. You can sell it for 2 gold, or if you keep it, you have to increase your burdens by 1.
Does that count if I get rid of my original weapon?
I can never remember what the rule for that is. If I remember correctly, the burdens never go down. They can only.
This wouldn't be going down; it just wouldn't be going up either.
No, it's a magical weapon. If you keep it, it goes up. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Maybe. Well, would you have? I made a note. Would you have the option to swap the sickle for like a bow and arrows, something that's ranged?
That's a good question.
That would still be changing to a weapon, although like the magical item.
I'm questioning your burdens. Like if you're stuck forever with the burden from the sickle.
Right. I don't remember what the rule is. Let me ask Jesse, because I honestly can't remember. It's never come up in one of my games yet.
Yeah, I think Diane has realized that the sickle, while useful as harvesting flowers and such, is not so great at fighting. But so I have enough to meet my burdens without selling the spear, but that also puts me up pretty high on burdens.
You don't have to satisfy that extra burden now, by the way. That's for next time.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's just next time I have to get 6 gold worth of.
The way it goes. Did everybody satisfy the burdens? Are we all good there as far as that goes?
Not quite. I've got a question or two. I've got a scroll tube that's sealed in wax.
Yeah.
What the contents are.
The contents are just diplomatic missives. They don't seem super important. Maybe to a collector of such things, you can probably get another gold out of it, but you can sell the scroll tube separately from the missive, from the diplomatic missives. If you want to keep the diplomatic missives and take them to Ambaret, when you go get the rest of the stuff sold in Ambaret, you can do that, right?
And then that silver bowl with amphibian eggs, or whatever they are.
That has no intrinsic value yet until you know more about what they are.
Okay.
So do you want to take those onto your sheet, maybe in your household somewhere, or mementos? Unless we're taking them with us.
Like tend them until they hatch?
I mean, that's an option.
Would the bestiary have any information to help that?
I'm sorry?
Would the bestiary have any information about the eggs?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Good idea.
Roll a light die. Let's see.
Is that hunt or?
Just do a / hunt just to get the light die out. But in fact, when you use this is a special item. Whenever you use this to learn about something, you roll a light die to see if there's any information about it.
Right. I got a 1.
Nah.
And then we decided we're keeping the bestiary book and not selling it, right?
Right.
In that fine medieval manuscript tradition, can we commission someone to make a copy of it or make a copy ourselves?
I think it would be very, very expensive, but you could do it, yeah.
Talk to me
Maybe
about how
more.
expensive that would be.
If we had leftover hunt tokens, can we convert that to gold, or are they just gone?
Okay, did you have leftovers from before you left?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely could have spent those to get treasures. Do you want to do that in hindsight, or?
Sure.
Yeah, you can just, let's just, because we already kind of skipped past it, we'll just say that you found enough cutlery and candelabras to swipe to equal the amount of gold, a gold equal to that. But you have to sell it. You can't keep any of it. So.
And remind me, hunt roll tokens do not carry over?
Do not carry over, no.
So I'm taking the eggs off my character sheet just so for bookkeeping.
Sure.
I still have the lavender orchid, which I think you said it could potentially go for 2 to the right buyer. Do I actually have to find the right buyer for that?
Yes, sounds like a trip to Ombre is what you're all doing at some point. Yes, you can sell it for 1 or the right buyer 2.
Yeah, I will hold on to that for now.
As best you can tell in Fort Duhrin, well, I don't know, maybe once we have our Fort Duhrin scene, maybe you can find someone. Certainly Patience Davies, who is a character you all have a vague connection to from last time, might be interested. She's clearly a person who's able to afford a bunch of guards and stuff. Perhaps the strange woman down in the basement, perhaps they know something of such things.
Would maybe my the apothecarist that I live with know who to sell it to?
Oh, the apothecarist might be interested in the orchid, actually. Yeah, I think if you're willing to sell it to him, he'll pay 2 gold for it.
Okay, yeah, and I'll do that.
All right, so after using burden and repairing armor, does it cost a gold to restore a blank spot in a backpack?
Yes, and it costs a gold to unmark your armor as well.
Yep. So after doing that, I'm stashing a grand total of 1.
Good. That's okay.
But I'm also sitting on a painting and a silver bullet and 50 things. So
get some investments for the future.
Yeah.
Once everyone gets to their burdens being satisfied, we'll continue.
Yeah.
For repairing armor, is it 1 gold for all armor or 1 per?
1 per.
Okay. And it's 1 gold to get a house or a household?
Yeah, to establish a household, it's just a burden. You increase your burdens by 1. And if you want to do that, we'll talk about that in a moment. Blaine, are you caught up on burdens?
Yes.
Okay. Drew, are you caught up?
Yep.
Okay, great. Wait for Brian to come back and we'll continue.
yeah, I'm caught up.
Okay, so Osto, establishing a household. That's fun. Let's see. Let's look at that part of the Hearthfire sheet. Access to a higher quality of life automatically heals you of 1 ruin and all conditions when you return home. If you have any conditions you like, you can keep them, by the way.
I think I'll hold on to the blood tainted.
Yeah, okay. The first time you establish a household, increase your burdens by 1, then complete both of the following. You have to say where are we at? What kind of structure or environment is your household? And then the other players will tell you what, they'll each tell you a memento that you took from the Huntsman's Manor. But tell us about your household. It doesn't have to be a house. It can be an abandoned church. It can be an orphanage that you help support financially. I don't know. It could be anything, right? So.
I like that about the
It's a chance to tell us
orphanage.
something about your character, though, right? So.
Right. So I think he lives in a small room in the orphanage he and his brother grew up in, and he kind of helps out around there when needed. And it's kind of the count, like during his day job, he's all destruction and barreling through, but at home he has a nice, gentle, quiet space with the kids, or sometimes quiet, I guess. And so he has a little back room, and it's just his.
I love it. That's great. Thank you. Brian, what is something that Osto took from the Marquess Niral's Manor?
I feel like it's a memento that you hope to one day give to your brother. A small sort of ivory and scrimshaw sculpture of a bear. Perhaps he cannot turn into a bear like you, or it's up to you to figure out that part, why you want to give it to him. I'll leave it in your hands.
Okay.
Ivory and scrimshaw bear figurine. That's great. Blaine, what did Osto take?
I was also thinking bear figurines, and now I have to come up with something else.
Make it a whole chess set of bears.
What if there's a small tapestry that like depicts a bear hunt?
Oh, interesting. Nice. Like a little kind of small, tiny one. It's good. Nice.
It's a little bit larger.
So, you clear a ruin and any conditions that you wish to clear. What is it about being in the orphanage that centers you or makes you feel at home?
It's literally where he grew up. It's full of the memories, both good and bad, but it reminds him of himself before the bear.
Nice, good. And you're decorating it with reminders of the bear.
As you do.
It's a whole picture of your life. It's good.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. Let's go over to Corklook. Corklook, any Hearthfire actions you want to take?
Give me just a second. I'm still reading through some of the narration potentials.
Okie doke. Same thing, Blaine. If you have any thoughts, go for it. I think I'll pause the recording while you all look at things. Oh, can you say that again, Blaine? I had the recording paused.
I was thinking I'll do a healing scene and then potentially carouse, but I don't know if we have any plan for like the next incursion yet.
Let's do the healing scene. So, which one are you gonna mark here? Because you can spend a gold to heal a ruin, or you can do one of these options that are down there.
Well, in that case, I have the gold this time around, so I should probably just spend the gold.
Have you stashed anything in your hoard yet?
No, but I'll still have two
Okay.
stash.
Got it.
So I'm not like completely neglecting it.
Indeed. I'll note that some of the hoard options come with mechanical benefits too, but they're in notes. You have to hover over that little note tab to see what it does.
I don't necessarily need it in a second, but is there a list of sisters published yet?
No, No, not yet. There's the crowdsourcing on the Gauntlet forums, where there's a bunch there. Most of those are going to end up in the book at some point, or in some way. For now, you're just going to kind of make it up. So.
Okay. I wasn't sure if those were canon yet or not.
Nah, not yet.
All right. I think I have a kind of cute thing here with the narrated short scene and the presentation on how you're getting closer to achieving your drive.
Oh, nice. Okay, this is a horde thing.
Yeah, it lets me add 2 gold to my horde, so I feel a little more like I've made progress.
I like it. So let's give us the scene. What's going
on? You'll recall that I keep my horde stashed in the back of the bear den of the bear that I met outside of Hester's Mill and saved it from the bear trap. As I, go to stash this one sort of value of gold in the back of this bear den, I, of course, stop by the butcher and pick up a nice fresh liver for the bear and bring it along all wrapped in wax paper. But as I'm hiking there, I realized that, I've met Osto. I've met a human who can transform into a bear. And I have this great, these stories to share with this bear, in a sense, to sort of sit there in the den, share some liver with it and tell it the story about Osto, this man who can transform into a bear, and how he heroically, saved me from this topiary wolf, and the horror of the taxidermied bear with 2 jaws. And I feel like I can almost entertain this bear for a moment and spend some time in the cave with it.
And how is it helping you achieve your drive?
So in the time of sitting here, spending an hour or 2 in the bear's den speaking to this bear, it's almost a monologue, because the bear, I'm assuming, is not talking back to me, and I'm just sort of this weirdly overjoyed construct mannequin. But as I'm jabbering away, I realize that there's a little ledge up in the cave, and up on that ledge is a ceramic piece of crockery, a little seed bowl that I reach up, pull it down, and turn it over and find that this one actually has a bit of a signature on it, and gives me at least a partially legible name to try and track down the descendant of my creator, Mashiko.
Nice, good. Yeah, go ahead and add the appropriate amount of gold to your horde, and you are that much closer. Osto, do you have any other Hearthfire things you want to do?
I think I will do a heal scene.
All right, which one are you doing?
Just how he satisfies his physical desires.
Okay.
And so when he's not in his bear form, he's tall and he's broad, but he's kind of reedy. And despite this, he has a voracious appetite. And so whenever he gets back in town, one of the first things he does after stashing his gear is find someplace he can get a good, it doesn't even have to be good meal, it just has to be a lot. So he gets back to town and he finds the cheapest pub he can and just orders just almost everything he can afford. And it looks like just pure gluttony as he just shovels everything in his face.
I love it. Good. Diane, what's your next Hearthfire move, if any?
I need to stash things in my horde, but other than that, I think there's a couple scenes that go along with that, maybe, though, because I haven't done it yet.
Yes. The first thing you have to do is you have to tell us where is your horde so no one can find it. And the next thing you have to do is narrate a flashback to the moment your drive became important to you.
Yeah, so my question there I have is, how far is Navask from Fort Durin?
Oh, good. Right now, as far as you want it to be. In the future, it might be a specific distance, but for now, Navas can be as close as you need. What are you thinking right here?
Yeah, I'm thinking like it's, like one of the supporting towns that like sends food to this.
Okay, yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like he just makes a trip back to his, at this point, fairly dilapidated college because he hasn't been there maintaining it.
Yeah.
And like there's like a stone in the fireplace that he pulls out, and like he stashes his money behind that.
Nice. So it's in Navas, which is good. I think anywhere outside of grubby treasure hunters, Fort Durin is probably a good idea.
I don't think it's like it's close enough that he can reach it. So it's like maybe a day's journey or something.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, absolutely. And so your drive is what? Break the Gesh.
Break the Gesh, placed by the Witch of Navask.
Okay, very good. So narrate a flashback to the moment that this became an important thing to you.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a little bit of a montage, as like we see him like presenting some token to the witch as is like, she requires as part of like her services in the town. And it, like, there's a bunch of other things that others around have presented, and some of them are just like foodstuffs or whatever. But he just presents this like dinky little carving that he obviously didn't spend his best effort on. And she obviously has a look of displeasure, and he goes away. And then we just see like this montage of like people coming in upset with him and like shaking broken things in his face and demanding money. And then like just like his cottage getting more and more sparse as he has to sell more and more things to survive. And he just becomes more upset and depressed, and like you can obviously see like his clothing deteriorates. He's probably like losing weight to an extent. And then he just breaks another carving in the same way that we saw in a previous scene, throws it against the wall, and then walks out the door. And as far as we know, that's the last time he returns until he starts stashing stuff.
Awesome, thank you. Osto, anything else you want to do before we wrap up Hearthfire?
I think I'll also stash for my hoard.
Very good. How much are you putting in there?
2.
2. And where do you keep it so that no one can find it?
I think in the back of the orphanage, there's the kitchen that it's all heavy, black, ornate, like big old iron stove. And he waits till it's quiet, of course, and he just lifts the back of it up, knowing that no one else in the orphanage would even think to look there. And there's a little false floorboard or a broken floorboard underneath, and he just lifts it up and drops the cutlery in it. And that's his hoard.
And now the really interesting part. Your drive is buy your brother's freedom from Barstool Prison. Narrate a flashback to the moment that became important to you.
So he became beast bitten when he was probably around 15 or 16. And it was actually him and his brother who were both attacked in the forest by a bear that they didn't know at the time was more than a bear. It's how he got, he has just a couple scars raked across the side of his head that is visible through his hair. And his older brother was always very protective of him. And so when they realized what was happening and the curse came upon them, he went searching for this cure that could get them at the very least control and time before it took them completely. And he ended up following clues and finding a cure, but just enough for Osto. And so he gave it to his brother. Osto didn't know at the time that he had stolen it from a prominent alchemist or apothecary, and the man knew or had followed his brother and ended up getting him arrested just as Osto began to be a cured beast bitten. And so his drive ever since then has been to get his brother out of prison, as which he's in because he's still feral and also a thief. So he has an in. He knows who to bribe. He's just got to get the dosh.
I love it. Let's end this session with a scene of Korkulek coming back from the cave, from the wilderness. Nighttime, on the road to Fort Duhrin. Who knows how long you spent in the cave? I think you sometimes go in there and just totally lose track of time, right? Could be hours or days. What is time to a being for whom time is not that big of a concern, right? You hear a crunch beneath your feet, Korkulek, and you look down to see a trail of beetles and cockroaches and centipedes following a little path down the road. Do you follow them?
Is this heading away from the fort?
It's going towards the fort, but it looks like they are going to cut off to a side road.
Yeah, we haven't played out the what happened with that porcelain-faced beetle being in the basement, so I feel like I need to track this down. There might be another one. So yeah, I'll trail along.
You follow the trail of beetles and insects for a time down this little side road, and they lead to a magnificent carriage, a closed carriage with horses and a carriage driver. And the bugs are crawling up the wheels of the carriage into the passenger compartment of the carriage. What do you do?
Is the carriage otherwise intact? It's sitting upright.
Yeah, it looks like they just stopped on the road, basically.
And horses tethered to it, or no?
Yeah, there's horses. There's even a coachman.
Well, I gotta go check it out, and I feel like I can't not. On the chance that I'm about to get whisked away to somewhere else, I'm gonna take some of my twine and wrap it around a tree trunk in kind of a eyesight level band, and then pull a twig out of my beard. If you recall, my beard is a porcelain chin with twigs jammed in it. Pull a twig out that's kind of got a bit of an arrow shape and jam it through the twine in the direction the carriage is currently facing. And with that, hopefully unnecessary backup signal of where to find me if I go missing, I will go approach the carriage.
You approach the carriage, and the curtain of the passenger compartment slides open, and it is the woman wearing the porcelain mask.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see now that behind the eye holes of the porcelain mask, there are no eyes. It's just darkness. And she says, "Will you sit with me for a moment?"
Absolutely.
She opens the carriage door, and if you join her, you can sit across from her. The floor of the compartment is covered with the bugs, and you can feel them crunching underneath your feet. She says, I have a request to make of you, something that very important that I need done, and perhaps you can help me. And I'll note here that she's wearing a black velvet gown that means nothing to you, but if Diane and Osto were there, they would recognize it. It's embroidered with the symbols similar to the gown worn by the fortune teller at the Huntsman's Manor. It is in fact an identical dress. And we'll just cut there. Let's do stars and wishes. Stars are things you enjoyed about the session. Bits of role play, scenes, characters, items, whatever. And wishes are things that you hope to see next time. I will go first. Star for, on the one hand, I wish you had done the hunt, but on the other hand, that's a wish. But on the other hand, I like the agonizing choice you had to make, because I could tell you all wanted to do the hunt, but it was not in the cards based off how things have gone with your characters and their ruin. So I kind of enjoyed that as a hard decision to be made. And I think that's the essence of Trophy Gold. You can always go back to the manor and see if you can do the hunt again. You can always go back to Hester's Mill and try to fight Malfast, and maybe there will be opportunities to do that. But I did enjoy that sort of calculation and that tension. I think it's important to the game. I thought all the combats were very good. The combats were brisk and well narrated, and they were very vivid in my mind. So good job on that. And I was happy we got to see basically the entire manor except for the hunt part. So that was really fun. Wishes. I do hope, and I think we're going to, I do hope we're able to pick up some of these dangling plot threads from the various incursions, because I think they're going to start piling up. And just leaving Malfast out there, leaving the Vagabond Lord Galdrin out there, that has to mean something, right? Maybe leaving the hunt unattended means something. You were invited and didn't show up, right? Those are all things that have to mean something. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but I'm excited to figure it out. So those are my stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go next. I'll throw in another star. I enjoyed learning more about Diane and Osto's backstory as well, because we had a fair amount of Korkuluk's backstory because Korkuluk already did the Horde. So it was nice to kind of get a glimpse of the two of those characters' backstories as well.
For a specific star, I really liked the scene where we're going into the hedge maze and Osto is just like, fuck this, and barrels through everything.
Tears through it, yeah.
That was fun.
I also liked that Korkuluk kept the twine going as we cut through the middle. That seemed pretty good.
I like the juxtaposition of it, of Korkuluk coming up with this plan to have the twine to carefully find your way back, and Osto's just no. It just tears through. It was good.
What's cute is when you come up with that solution too. I never voiced this, but in my head I was thinking, okay, I got this porcelain beard. Maybe I can do a system of left means we pull one out, and then right means we put one back in, and somehow trying to map it on my beard, which turns we took, and you're like, brah. I was like, hey.
I think it's fun that there are frequently moments where Korkuluk is trying to analyze the problem or cope with the problem in an analytical way, and kind of with the dog statue too, right, or the hound statue, but the rest of the group is just rah. I like that sort of interesting dynamic, because it's fun.
Actually, I'll give, I would say, a star for the way that you have Korkuluk use so much of his constructness in solving problems, and that, I think it's always fun to see.
Thanks.
And overall, I thought the atmosphere of the manor and what was going on there was really cool. And I guess if just following that, the wish would be to see the hunt.
Yeah, I really wish we had been able to see the hunt. It was just in character and out of character. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, it was a. I don't want to like reveal anything because I know exactly how the hunt goes, and I still want to give you an opportunity to do it at some point. But I think you made the right call. It kind of depends on how many hunt roll tokens you have on hand too, because one thing is that the hunt roll tokens are a sort of power, right? Because they at least guarantee that you can solve the set goal if you have enough of them. And whether that will save you or not is not, who knows, but at least going into a situation that having the tokens, you do have some control over things, right, is another part of the calculation, I think. But of course, you didn't really know exactly what was going to go on, so it's kind of hard to say. I think you made the right move, though. Yeah.
Yeah, like the big risk there is like the cycle could be find the big bad enemy that then just rends you to pieces.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, like the center of the maze one, there's all that is just to get to the monster in the middle. There's no there's no other thing. Right. Like so. But by solving it early though, you don't have to deal with the, traipsing around the maze and trying to, like maybe get even more hurt or more complications going on. So.
I feel like for Stars and Wishes, I'm kind of echoing what's been said already. As much as I tried to role play being frustrated with you guys for swinging a mallet at the stone dog, I'm really glad you did it. It was good narratively. I just felt like in character, I had to be like, no. I really like the imagery too of Osto's ward ritual being involving a slow transformation to the bear as walking through this kind of natural landscape, even though it was within a building, and that Dion has sort of taken the time to upgrade from drawing a full chalk outline to like I can make circles that are a little more quick on the go, and I'm gonna plan ahead here for future needs in a moment. Wishes, like everybody, I want to know what that hunt is, so we'll come back at some point for that.
Yeah, because you could go back and maybe the Marquess didn't succeed, right? The woman that you talked to in the last session made it seem like they've tried this hunt many, many times, right? So yeah. Always failed. Any other stars or wishes? Okie doke. In that case, thank you all so much. If you're watching the video, we hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.